Good afternoon and happy Mother's Day to all the moms on the faculty, staff, and administration. And to everyone, happy last week of classes. I'm going to do my best to keep these videos as short as possible, but I'm a talker, so it's really hard, but I'm going to try. So before I get to the main thing I wanted to share with you today, just a few things that you might have seen in the email. One, we're going to have a faculty and staff end of the year gathering on May 21st, next Thursday at 1:30 to celebrate Cindy and Karen and their retirement. The theme is a beach pool party. Beach is Cindy's favorite place. The backyard pool is Karen's favorite place. So we thought the theme was appropriate. So wear your best beach or pool gear, bring your own cooler, and hopefully everyone has a really cool Zoom background to celebrate the event. Also, as you may have seen, normally we have in-services at the end of the year from May 26th to the 29th. We're not going to have those this year at that time because there's been a lot of requests for training for the online teaching, and we're working on a number of summer workshops to offer. So as you heard about them at the last faculty meeting, we won't have the in-service, so that you know that that's not going to happen, and more information about the summer offerings will be coming very, very soon. And as you know, on May 30th, for those who wish to attend, we will have the class of 2020 graduation parade on campus. So if you wish to attend, that's on May 30th. In the email, I shared with you a link to an article from the Master Teacher. Some of you might have heard of the Master Teacher before. It's been around for a really long time. I think they were founded like in the late 60s, early 70s. For many years, it was a trifold document that would appear in every teacher's mailbox. You get one every week, and it'd be about some lesson, some topic for teachers. And I always found them to be very helpful. They were kind of informative and realistic. I think lately, in recent years, they become digital, so that they come to digital, and every so often they would release a 37th lesson. So 36 times 5 is 180 for 180 days of school. But some years they would have a lesson 37, and this year there's a lesson 37, and that's the article that I shared with you. And it's about the assumptions that we need to get rid of before we return from remote teaching to teaching in the classroom. I'll share each assumption with you and a brief point maybe to each one, but the purpose of my sharing is to start the dialogue, to hear from you, to help our conversations about who we need to be as teachers, what needs to change about us as a teacher and as a school when we return to the classroom, hopefully sooner rather than later. Assumption one, when we return, students will be ready to learn what we are ready to teach. And we've talked about this in a lot of different settings, that we're not keeping the same pace. So it's really going to be difficult, especially for us to virtually assess where they are. So we might need to spend some time early on figuring out where our students are. Some might be more accelerated, some might be further behind. Assumption two, when we return, the rules and behavior expectations we had for students before school closure will automatically fit now or fit again. We are going to be different teachers. As educators, we believe in growth and development, therefore we change, and we have to recognize how we've changed and how our students have changed from this experience. This has been a significant disruption that's taught us a lot, and when it comes to behaviors and expectations, which ones are appropriate and still necessary, and which ones need to be discarded. Assumption three and assumption four, I think, fit well together, especially for us at Holy Ghost Prep. When we return, learning will only happen in response to formal teaching. And when we return, our first and most important responsibility is to teach content. And when someone talks about primary responsibility, it's always important to go to our mission. And as we have at Holy Ghost Prep, with Christ at the center, HGP aspires to form young men morally, intellectually, and spiritually. And in doing that, there is no prescribed strategy that each of us needs to follow. We need to live the mission, but it doesn't tell us the teaching strategy or the pedagogical strategy that we need to use. So therefore, formal teaching is not something that has to be a part of what we do at Holy Ghost Prep. So I think we're already ahead of the curve when it comes to these things, but how far ahead of the curve can we be? How is this experiencing allowing us to break free of that box, to think outside the box, and be the best educators we can be when we return, and always focused on development of young men morally, intellectually, and spiritually, not just content driven. We're driven to form young men. When I read this last assumption, I felt as if like the author was passing on this sort of like negative thing that parents are going to be toward us. And I didn't take it that way as I thought about the families at Holy Ghost Prep. So when we return, families will hold the same expectations of us and themselves in the learning process. I think it's going to be more positive. I think there's going to be a greater appreciation from our families of what we do. And that's coming from what we've heard from our families so many times about your ability to connect with their sons in the online setting. So I think this will be a positive. With that said, I do think parents will have a more significant, more intense involvement in their sons' learning because of what they've experienced as well. So we need to account for that in how we relate to families. For some, change is hard, and for others, there are some people that thrive on change. So kind of assessing who you are in response to change is really important as well. If some of these things are feeling overwhelming for you, then let's talk through them. I think that's really important to be self-aware about how you respond to change, because we need to change. I think this experience has been a disruption that's going to help us see education differently, and in turn be better at connecting with young men to form them morally, intellectually, and spiritually. There is one constant, and I think the one constant in education remains is that students know that they need their teachers, which goes back to a point that we've made a lot of times this year. You are the most important part of what you teach. And this experience has only made that point more evident. And if that's the case, then your personal developments are really important. Your self-awareness is really important. So recognizing the changes that have occurred in you and that need to change because of this experience is a personal development that all of us as educators need to embrace. Those changes might be small, those changes might be large changes within our school and such. So I share this with you just to keep the conversation going. And before I'm done, and I'm probably already over my time, I just want to give a quick shout out to Ms. Best and Mr. Hoban, who have coordinated two things virtually, which is the student government elections and Mr. Firebird. Mr. Hoban, that monologue was awesome, and that music was awesome. Very funny, very good stuff. I enjoyed it. All the videos were great. If you want to hear the results of Mr. Firebird competition and the results of the student government elections, tune in to the town hall tomorrow at 7 o'clock. You can find it on Facebook and YouTube. I'm done. I'm out. It's good to see you. Take care.